Today on the show, we'll discuss the Orioles' latest roster, the opening day roster. We'll discuss Chance Sisco being sent down. Was it the right call? Was it the bad call? And we'll discuss the direction right now of Mike Elias, the direction he's taking these Baltimore Orioles. All that and more on this edition of Section 336.
Section 336, Matt, Josh, and Bert are at the games, hidden behind home plate. Let's go O's! Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome to Section 336, Next Generation Baltimore Sports Talk. I am the dearly stuttering host, Matt Soroka. As always, I'm joined by the zany Bert Rhodey.
I am the zany Bert Rhodey. Welcome to Section 336.
And the button lover, Josh Soroka.
Hey, I've been dealing with a whole bunch of stuff this week. Looks like we're working.
Josh, nobody wants to know.
You know what?
I know.
I've been dealing with a lot of stuff too this week.
Yeah, me
We
too.
all deal with stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you guys show up at like 7:20, 7:25 in Matt's case. Meanwhile, I get home from work and go straight in here to start putting this stuff together.
Oh, I didn't realize you guys were clocking me.
My favorite podcasts to listen to are the ones where they complain about podcasting.
No, the whole point is I wanted to tell you guys that I got a big screen that you guys can't see that's right behind your heads that shows the chat and conversation windows.
I love it.
So we can try to be a little bit more interactive with the 336ers.
We're
now.
always about interaction.
Now, why is that picture though behind Matt frozen?
I don't know. That's because things don't work.
All right.
Okay. You see, Stan, you're just making it worse. Oh, we're also joined by Stan Charles. Welcome back, Stan.
It's great to be back, guys.
Yeah.
It really is.
He's
There's
becoming
so
a
much
regular.
more ego though in the room than when I first met you. You know, you guys were like these guys that were like in the basement and all that.
Yeah.
Now there's nothing but ego and drama.
We got that relationship
And
with
technology.
Press Box, and now we're big dogs.
Yeah, it's Pressbox's fault.
Yeah,
I'm
sure that's.
I mean, we blew up from 5 to 10 listeners, so when hit those 10 listeners, my ego also exploded.
Boom.
Yeah, so... Well, Stan, I'm excited to talk to you, man. We got a lot
to talk about.
We really do. The direction of this team. I mean, we are at the beginning here of something really kind of different and unique. And I think exciting maybe or terrible. I don't even know yet.
Well, I think it's going to be, and I know you haven't asked the question yet, but that never stops me from butting in.
Don't I know
I think it's going to be a combination of awful and terrible and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing, frankly, the first ever full rebuild of the Baltimore Orioles. I think in their history, there has never been a time quite like this. I think at every other period where they weren't very good, there was this effort to kind of not admit we're no good and let's like quickly piece it together and move from here. I remember Edward Bennett Williams in 1987 after the collapse in 86. I remember he acquired Freddie Lynn, Don Ossie, and Lee Lacy, which was his way of throwing some money at a problem that was much larger than it appeared at the time.
Yeah, it's true, and so and when we'll get into all that. I know we have opening day is on Thursday.
Wow.
I thought that they were able to talk the Yankees into foregoing opening day for another week. I think the Yankees gave up the home opener, and it's going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah, I think
that'd be nice.
That really wouldn't affect any of the records anyway. It's all going to end up the same way anyway.
Right.
Even if they did that. But we do have next week. We got Birdland Radio, Josh, right?
Yeah, on Sunday. That's why I've been working in here a bunch. But Sunday we got a bunch of shows that I'm blanking on them now. But Birdland BS is going to be here.
Baseball's boring.
Baseball's boring.
Yeah.
There's a guy on YouTube, SXG Sports, who does Ravens and Orioles Talk weekly. He's going to be in here. Full Count Chaos, which is a guy who started a one-man show last year. He's going to be in here doing a show. Maryland Sports Blog is going to be here doing some stuff. We got Ryan and Kyle coming together. Barstool RDT, he's going to be here hanging out. And,
now, are these people coming into your home studio?
So we do this. So, Stan, we do this thing on the weekend before opening day.
Okay.
This is our third year doing it, where we take a Sunday and we start broadcasting at 9 a.m. and we stop like 10 p.m. And we do one straight show after show after show, run them all together as one big radio show.
All right, well, one of you guys has got to come on the show this Saturday and talk about this for 10 minutes or so. All right?
Promote
we'll work it
Birdland
out.
Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know you did that. That's
Josh would be
great.
happy
Yeah,
to.
this is our third year doing it. Real excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're combining it with a wiffle ball tournament as well. So we've got guys coming down to host a wiffle ball tournament that we're going to do in the field next door and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and other news, Josh, we just got season tickets. I'm just looking over this.
Oh,
First
yeah.
time I'm seeing it.
So I brought
We
out
got
the
season
season tickets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we got the tickets and we
Yeah.
got our
I've
little
seen tickets before.
lanyard.
The lanyard is new.
So the lanyard, we're supposed to wear this to get 15% off food and the store and any of that stuff and get in like the members gate door or something.
Okay.
Nice.
And I don't know what else. But yeah, so I've got lanyards for all you guys.
Nice.
Yay.
And then our beautiful tickets, which you'll notice anything this year?
I don't.
See the nice picture of Camden Yards?
Oh,
No
there's
players.
That's the theme. There's no players.
Those players. And I don't know if you guys have been downtown anytime recently. You know where they put up the big banners of players? Right now it's just the number 20.
Oh,
No,
really?
no players on the warehouse
players.
either.
And I don't know if you guys looked at the latest rosters.
No players.
No players on the roster either.
It looks like the picture on those tickets is taken from Section 336, too. Maybe just a higher up row.
Yeah. Is that? I think we copyrighted that picture. I think we went
Now, I have,
Ask for some
I
money
have
for
to
that.
tell you something. Yesterday was my fantasy baseball auction.
Okay.
You know,
Stan,
it's-
I love fantasy everything.
Everybody
Let's go.
calls it a draft, but
Yes.
it's really an auction.
Yes,
in our
after this
league.
we can do tournament.
And the most amazing thing happened, and I won't even include my two biggest screw ups, which both involved Orioles.
Okay.
But the most amazing thing in that whole draft is this is a draft in Baltimore. What do you think? Do you know how auctions work in fantasy baseball?
Yeah, I got a general idea. Is there
You know,
do
like-
have a certain number of money as a team?
$260 that you have to budget for your 23 players.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, Mike Trout goes for $50.
Okay.
And I got Luis Sessa for $1.
Okay.
Okay.
That
What do you
range.
think?
Right.
What do you think Chris Davis went for in Baltimore?
Well, they got to pay you, right? That's
No,
okay.
this is going to be a shocker to
Chris
you.
Davis with a C, not Chris
The
Davis
C.
from Oakland.
Chris Davis from Oakland went for about $32, $33.
I would imagine you can get him for a penny.
You would think that he would have gone for $1. He would be
dollar
the guy
minimum
that somebody would throw out Chris Davis for $1, and everybody would go, "Okay, you got
Yeah,
him."
can have
What's
him.
wrong with this
He
guy?
went for $18
Interesting.
in this draft in Baltimore. $18, and it was like
Do they
there
know
was
something we don't know?
there was 4, and all of a sudden he hits a home run yesterday or Saturday,
Oh.
hits a home run today.
Oh.
So
He's lighting up.
Maybe he's back.
Maybe
he's
was,
back.
He was playing the long game just to win this fantasy league.
Right.
Maybe he was like involved with this guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And got a good
Involved with
discount.
this guy's a different issue. But hey, now, did you even introduce Stan?
Yeah, I said.
He said
I
Stan
said
Charles.
Okay, I'm just looking on. I'm looking, and Kate's up there saying, "Who's the Stan guy?"
a returning guest. No, Stan. So you are the
Former player.
You are the founder, right? Of Pressbox.
Founder and publisher of Pressbox.
Yeah,
We've got the
absolutely.
new issue right here.
Which
your boys,
is,
your boys, right on the cover, Matt.
Yeah. Mike Elias,
Yeah, I
an
got some
interview
things
with
to say to
Mike Elias.
I'm gonna when I talk about Mike Elias on the
nice-looking
show,
sweater.
I'm gonna talk to his face.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it to his face.
All right.
Also, you might see Stan on Masson, right? You've been doing some Masson work.
I've been doing some Masson work since September. I've been on about once a week, couple weeks, twice. Last week, Dave Johnson was called down to do some broadcasting in Florida. I got 4 nights of work. It was
Nice.
great. I hope he gets a whole 160 game schedule in the broadcast booth.
Who's the host
people.
of that Masson show?
It revolves between 3 people: Rob Long from
Yeah.
105.7 The Fan, Alex Parker, whose day job is a real estate salesman and mostly in Howard County, and Tom Davis still does some
Okay.
stuff.
Yep. Okay, good.
So the 3 of them. Dave Johnson is normally on there. Mel Antonin is on there. Phil Wood is on there. Craig Heist is on
Now,
there.
all those guys make sense, but why is there a real estate agent on there?
Because
Does
that's
he have a background?
He must have had a broad. No, he
Okay.
just walked in off the
I mean,
street.
it was like, did this guy sell Rob Long a
Josh,
house?
you should walk in there. Yeah. Yeah. Which one of those guys, Stan, do you like the least? Which one do you sit next to? You're like, oh man,
All three
how
of
did
them.
I get next to this
All
guy?
three of them are surprisingly really good guys. You know, I've known Rob. I've known Tom a long time. I've known Tom probably 25, 30 years. Rob, I've known 6 or 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Alex, I just met about 3 months ago. He does an energetic job on that show.
You keep trying with these whenever we have a guest, trying to
always
ask a
who they
negative
don't like.
word.
Yeah, I try to. I just
Negative.
Want
You haven't
I just
gotten
want something
an
to go
answer yet.
viral here.
Some dirt.
Who is it? Like, which of the three of you? Well, obviously you get along well with yourself, but of the other two guys, which do you like least of all?
Oh wow, no one's ever had me. Flip the script.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we used to have an intern here. That would have been
Right. He
easy
always
go-to.
took all the blame.
Yeah.
He was definitely Josh's least favorite.
No.
Well, it depends. Bert, when you head to Florida?
End of June, early July.
There we go.
What, for spring training?
Yeah, a little
That
late.
was a joke. That
For
was a
Mickey
joke.
Mouse. For Mickey Mouse.
Mickey
is
Mouse
why it
train.
goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I like myself the best out of us three.
Yeah.
I think that's obvious.
That's quite clear.
I like you
Yeah.
the best too.
Yeah.
Is that a
Thanks.
Liberty College T-shirt?
Yes.
Oh, now he brings up
Congratulations.
on Liberty gear.
Congratulations.
Right.
Thank you. Our first, as a
Almost.
school, our first tournament win, which is a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
I
Who did
was-
you beat? Who did you beat?
Mississippi State.
That's very.
Stan,
Yeah,
I'm a
you made
Belmont
it.
guy. I went to Belmont and I was hoping they'd upset the Terps.
I was hoping for
Almost did.
for an Elite Eight matchup of.
That would have been the
Belmont
dream,
and,
man. That would have been the dream.
I won $10 in the Wofford game. Wofford,
Oh,
Kentucky
yeah.
game. I won $10 on the final score. I matched the numbers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
By the way, you got to be out of first place now with that Wolford pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not looking good
We'll
right
get
now.
down to that later.
We can go over my brackets if
But-
you want again.
But Liberty played well yesterday. Almost got
I
you a
was-
shot to see him in D.C.
I know, and I
would've been
actually,
amazing.
I probably jinxed it because at
Probably.
halftime,
Did you start Googling for
I
tickets?
started looking at. You guys know tickets in DC, decent tickets. Do you know how much that they were running
Oh,
for?
$200.
200 bucks.
$250.
Up nosebleeds were $350. A decent ticket, we're talking
$500,
$1,000.
$1,000.
That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes, it was insane.
But you get like what, 3 games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
you,
all
but you
games.
only care about
What do you
one.
pay if
Sure.
you bring your orange lanyard?
I know, is there a
15%
50%
off.
discount? Yeah, but the second I shouldn't have searched for it because then it all went
Yeah,
down.
you
Also,
jinxed
I don't
it.
understand. Let me ask a dumb question. Liberty was in the East region.
Yeah.
They were playing their games in California. Why?
Uh,
Why are they playing California in the East
That
region?
was the East region in
Yeah.
California?
Yeah, in San Jose.
I didn't follow. I
No, I didn't know they were
Never
out there.
heard
And
of
then
that
in the
one.
Sweet 16, they go to D.C.
Gotcha. I don't know.
I don't know either. But you
No,
know,
no one really knows how any of the brackets come together or anything.
yeah, I didn't.
They just do a TV program and read 64 random things, and you just believe them.
But we were at a very low seed. That's the lowest we've ever been in 12. We have
That would be a high seed.
No, that's a low seed.
Like we're usually
Low. You're right.
High
you're
is
right.
yeah.
we're usually
You're right.
16, yeah,
You're right.
15. We got everyone's coming back next year except for one guard. So we're gonna have a
Good.
good year next
Now,
year.
did you win
Maybe
your
they can-
conference? Is that how you got in?
Yeah, we won the conference.
Right.
Yeah.
Now maybe they can shoot for 2 games in a row and be okay next year.
Yeah, I'm good. We're shooting for Sweet 16 next year.
It's funny with all the talk of the upsets. I'm seeing like a North Carolina, Virginia,
Yeah.
Michigan, maybe Duke.
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly
Michigan
can
State.
make the final.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I don't
it's all the
see.
big names.
I don't see a lot of excitement in this tournament in terms of some kind of fluke team really
Sure.
going.
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
I mean, there was
With
almost
the same old names.
There was almost the UCF Duke upset that almost happened.
That was an incredible game.
Yeah,
That was an incredible
I
game.
still don't know how that ball did not go in the hole. But
You know, it's funny.
amazing.
They showed the coach of UCF, and I go, God, he looks familiar. Who is? And it's Johnny Dawkins, who was Krzyzewski's assistant for about 15 years, until he realized, I better take a head coaching job. This guy's never going to retire.
And Liberty's coach Richie McKay was a long time with Virginia. I recently
Virginia
came
Tech,
over from Liberty.
right?
No, he was a Virginia.
Okay. I just
Was he at Virginia under Tony Bennett?
He
or
was
the
under Tony Bennett.
Under
Yeah.
Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
That's amazing what a career he's had, from the song "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" to coaching
Covered
the
a lot of ground.
Cavaliers. Yeah.
He
That's
covered
the
a
only
lot of
Tony
ground.
Bennett I ever heard of.
How about Tony Bennett 2 years ago puts out that album with Lady Gaga?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was pretty wild.
and
That's Tony Bennett,
Yeah,
the
that's
singer,
the
No,
singer.
I
not
got
the basketball
I got
coach.
you. Yeah. But they didn't have a thing like the
Her
like
and Bradley
Cooper.
Let's just hope
Yeah,
not.
that was hot. That was hot.
Now that would be hot. Tony Bennett.
That was a great performance, though.
That was-
Forget all the,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
really great.
That was
Really
great. I could watch it over and over again. It makes me a little jealous of what they have. Though I'm happily married with a couple kids.
Now-
I just wish I had what they had.
Now the insider. So yesterday I have my auction yesterday.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the option.
So I'm the expert from Baltimore. I cover the team.
And that's why we brought you in here, because you're
I
the expert.
I drafted Chance Cisco
Okay.
at like about 1 o'clock in
Right.
the
Okay.
afternoon.
Is this a
Somebody
keepers league?
across? It's a
Yeah.
keepers league, but
Okay.
I
Okay,
bid on them.
2022, yeah.
And I got them for $4. I need them for this year.
Oh, that's
Guy
not
across the
gonna happen.
room who's not a professional says, he's going to the minors. Did you know that? I
Yeah.
go, what are you talking about? I was down in Florida. I was down in Sarasota for 8 days. Never heard once
And Cisco was lighting it
anybody
up.
say he was lighting it up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the ultra round, which is where you pick your extra players, and I told Bert and Josh this story already. That's why they're so bored. I was my third pick. I had a really good pick. I was in third, 7th, and 20th picks. I did very well in the first round. My third pick, though, was important, and I'm between Bradley Zimmer of the Indians and Austin Hayes. And it was like a coin flip. I said, Zimmer's coming back from this injury. Hayes is going to be a great player. They're both going to be good players. Yeah. I go, let me go with Austin Hayes. He's here in Baltimore. Guy next to me, who's, again, not a professional, goes, geez, I hope that injury isn't too bad. And I go, what injury?
And it turns out it wasn't too bad.
What have you heard? Because I haven't heard anything. I heard he could be out weeks, not months.
Yeah, and then it was weird how they couched it, because Mike Elias was like, good news, he's going to be out, I guess, sprained thumb. He's going to be out weeks, not months.
Right.
And everyone was tweeting, good news, good news, good news.
But it is weeks.
So I
still.
guess there was,
Months could be 8 weeks.
yeah. So,
8 weeks could be 2 months.
and it's just weird how it's couched as good
Yeah,
news.
good
I don't
news.
know.
All right.
I don't know what's good about that. I guess
Sounds
I
like
didn't
it'll be
realize-
2 to 3 weeks. That's what
Right.
it sounds like. But those injuries are always the ones 10 days later it's not feeling any
All of
better.
a sudden his
They
swings
go
are back to
in
their something.
and
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Seen that before.
Well, we're going to go through the roster, and why don't we just start first with that injured list, which is Austin Hayes, Austin Wynns, and then Trumbo. Now it's a 60-day DL, or IL,
He's been placed on the 60-day IL.
and then Cobb
Great.
is 10.
I would say
is
they
the
were
10-day IL.
I would say they were a little off on the timing of Trumbo's coming back. You
Now-
know? They waited until March 14th.
Right.
He played like the day before I left, and then he.
Is this a thing where they can date it back or anything?
No,
or
he's
are
on the
we're
60-day
days
IL.
starting?
Yeah.
Day
I
number
think-
one
I
is
think-
Thursday.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, I think this whole thing is, and let me just share my thoughts on this roster in general. I think this roster is a joke of a roster. It is, though. This is the worst open day roster I literally have ever seen. It's a joke. And Sir Charles is right. This is a full-on rebuild. If Dan Duquette was still here, he would never field this team. If Peter Angelo still ran things, he would never field this team. Right? This is a team that doesn't want to win.
No. It's-
And don't tell me that, for example, you mentioned Cisco. Don't tell me that Cisco is the third best catcher on this team right now. All this development nonsense. And don't tell me that Hayes is not a better outfielder than Joey Rickard. He is. Development
Well,
is
he's also-
nonsense.
But here's the issue on that.
Yeah.
And I hear you with the tone of your voice and the way you said that development nonsense. What I go back to, and clearly there's a whole different agenda today with Mike Elias than there was with Dan Duquette.
Yes.
And I want to throw in one thing that we didn't really talk about with Dan Duquette. It's nice to have a general manager come in and say, hey, we're going to win right now. But it's a very different thing when you realize that guy had been, whether it was an official blackball or not, he had been outside looking in for 10 years. His larger agenda, in my opinion, was reestablishing his bona fides, as a guy that, a genius, because he was the boy genius before Theo Epstein and Billy Beane.
Right.
And the reason I bring that up is because when you look at Kevin Gausman, to me is Exhibit A of non-development emphasis.
Yeah.
They drafted Kevin Gausman, and at the time they drafted him, I'm not sure if Bundy had the Tommy John surgery or not, but it was pretty close after they drafted Gosman.
I think it was a little bit after.
Okay, but the point is, they never said to Gosman, let's get you down at A-ball and let's see you dominate at A-ball, and then we'll take you up to Double-A, then we'll bring you up to Triple-A. They, threw him in, immediately, at Frederick, and he didn't really have great numbers in the minor leagues anywhere, ever. I mean, his career minor league win-loss record, and I know we can puncture how important wins and loss record are for a starting pitcher, but I think it was something like 9-30 in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And they never forced him to really get polished and be ready for the majors. And now this organization, we can say, well, they're doing it because of service time and all this. Right. I think they're trying to finish off Chance Sisco and really have him really be ready to stick at the major league level and be competent, if not better than competent, when he comes up. So when you say the development nonsense, I think I sense that you're frustrated that they're fielding a very low-level Major League Baseball team, which I am, but I think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I'm not frustrated. I understand that. And I like Mike Elias's quotes about dominating at every spot in the minors. I like that. But my point is I don't think it's for developmental reasons primarily. I think, and let me know what you guys think about this, I think it's simply a numbers game. Mike Elias, his whole goal this year is to increase the talent in the organization.
Right.
So they get a guy like Jesus Sucre, the catcher.
Right.
They pick up Severino. Both these guys have to be on the major league team, or Severino gets optioned to be picked up by another team, and Sucre can go to another club. And so all of a sudden, this is a way for you to keep all of the catchers there by just moving Sisco down.
But what's the end game to that? If not to get Sisco better, they really think they're going to create value in Sucre. Sucre is horrible.
Right.
He's a good defensive catcher. He's horrible.
Yeah.
He hits every ball he hits is a ground ball to second base.
Yeah.
I saw him hit 3 pitches while I was down there.
Apparently, he's good defensively. Yeah.
He is good defensively.
And maybe you need that when you're trying to develop pitchers.
Well, and I think if you look at other moves too, I don't really think that Trumbo needs to be in the DL for 60 days or whatever.
No, but it's convenient when you're trying to fit an extra man on your roster.
And then not the 25-man roster.
No, the 40-man.
I hate to disagree with you guys, but what sense would it make to have him on the DL
when you're trying to
have him create value in himself to be able to not get rid of the salary, but to get rid of him July 1st? Now you virtually have ruled that out.
Yeah,
that's $13 million flushed down the toilet. Plus, you can't get a prospect for him.
I think, though, Stan, I think Mike Elias would argue that even if Mark Trumbo plays well, in this day and age, he's virtually of no value, right? A DH only who can hit for some power.
It depends. Suppose the Milwaukee Brewers lose Jesus Aguilar, or the Dodgers lose Cody Bellinger, and it's July 18th, and they need a first baseman to get through the season. To me, and if Mark Trumbo is playing and producing, look, he was not ever going to produce again at the 49 home run.
Yeah.
Right. But he could have been a 25 and 80 guy that could have had some value for the last 2 months of the season. That is, to me, out the window now.
Do you think if Mark Trumbo, can I ask you this? Do you think if Mark Trumbo was a free agent in this offseason, would Mark Trumbo have gotten a major league deal?
No, he would have been a minor league. That contract was even worse and more stupid than the Chris Davis contract, because the Chris Davis contract, I think we can all agree, is a botch job, but it was more a botch job in that it was 7 years long.
Yeah.
I don't think, and you tell me, maybe I'm wrong, I don't listen to you all the time, the three of you, were you in favor of us re-signing him? I was.
Yeah, I was
at the time. We were
okay with it.
No,
he was our guy.
No one could have predicted the downfall.
And I can guarantee you, and at the end of the day, I didn't end up being as big a Dan Duquette fan as I was for most of his time here. But I guarantee you, if he had truly been a general manager like Hank Peters was 25, 30 years ago, he would not have signed Chris Davis. he would not have signed Mark Trumbo to those contracts.
Yeah.
No question. And he wouldn't have signed Darren O'Day to that ridiculous contract either. Yeah. That was Buck Showalter pushing that. Peter was pushing the Chris Davis deal, and I think Peter and Buck both wanted Trumbo. Peter didn't want with Trumbo. Peter didn't want to lose Trumbo the way they had lost Cruz.
Right.
So they
signed
Cruz has done extremely well, right? Since he left Baltimore.
So with Trumbo off
we just make all the wrong decisions.
With Trumbo off the 40-man,
yeah,
does that give a chance for Mancini to move to first and get another outfielder in here?
Well,
I think what it does, first of all, I think we're going to really get a look at Dwight Smith Jr. for an extended period of time. He's a left-handed hitter, and I think he'll platoon with Rickard in right field, and I think there will be days that Mancini will move to first, Chris Davis will DH, and Smith will move to left field, and Drew Jackson will play some left field.
Right.
Yeah, I think the guy who was really saved by this roster spot was Alberto. I don't know anything about this kid.
Is he making the roster now?
Well, as the latest update.
Because of Trumbo going.
Is that Hansel?
Is likely to make it.
He must have pictures. He must have pictures of several general managers.
Yeah, I don't know.
I look at him and I'm going, I don't see a there.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, if he walked in this room right now, I wouldn't recognize him. I think also Cobb going to the IL might also help some of these guys on a.
But that's a short 10-day. IL.
Yeah,
until it re-injures.
So, in the old days, I don't know how this team's going to handle it, but that's where Buck would take advantage of bringing up a pitcher from a minor, and we'll get a start.
Yeah, I feel like the analogy here, I went to the dentist about maybe 2 months ago for a cleaning, and it was a big accomplishment for me because they said, I had my cleaning and I was good. I had nothing else done. Because for a while, all the way through my 20s, I avoided the dentist. I went back in my 30s, when I had insurance and stuff, and there was a lot of work to be done.
Right.
And it was painful.
Well, that's just the dentist in general. You go and they ask you to come back for something else.
Yeah, but
they don't want to let you go.
It was painful until this last checkup where they said I'm good to go, and I've come in 6 months for my next cleaning. But the whole process is extremely painful, especially when you've been putting it off for a while. And I feel that's the kind of situation the Orioles are in. We've been putting off
you went to a World Series
work.
This week.
Very good analogy.
Thank you, Stan. You appreciate me, Stan. These people don't appreciate me at all.
No. I can see the comments are incredible about you.
Yeah, I know. They should be even more incredible. Half of those are actually Russian bots I pay to say good things about me.
Collusion.
But the hard thing about this, though, and this is the part that gets me. Why? And I'm tuning in. I show up for my dentist appointment. I understand it's my teeth. I got to go. Why should fans tune into this? Right? I go to Norfolk, go to Bowie. What's my incentive to see Andrew Kashner, to see Joey Rickard, to see Sucre? What's my incentive? It's not these are the baby birds.
They're sort of saying that with what's on the ticket, the artwork on the tickets.
And you go for the stadium.
And the 15% discount.
And the 15% discount.
There you go.
And notice going up to this, when they were trying to sell the Birdland memberships, they were saying it's a full open competition. There's a competition at every position.
It was nonsense.
To get you excited for these young guys who are not...
If there's open competition, then Austin Hayes would be in the team. Then Chad Cisco would be in the team. We can open competition.
We can break down the lineup a little later, but I think just looking at the 25-man roster, you can cross out more than half of these guys who are going to be on this team in 3 years. Maybe all 26.
I think a lot more than half.
I mean, we might be down to about 5 guys who could still be here in 3 years. So it's not go and watch the baby birds. It's go and watch the baseball that happens to be in town while we wait for the baby birds.
Go and watch us tank, right?
Yeah.
Go and watch us put a bad product on the field.
But they're not allowed to say they're tanking or anything.
Yeah. Well,
but we all know they're tanking.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. If Rod Manfra had any cojones, he would fine the Orioles for putting out this terrible product.
Well, I mean, and that's what the players union wants.
Goes about all the rule changes. They're going to put a picture of the Orioles and say, "Here's why we need to change rules." Tanking teams like the Orioles.
Well,
but I'm on board with Mike
that's what I don't
doing.
understand.
Like, I get it.
So the players union came out like last week or the week
Tony
before.
Clark said he's keeping an eye on Baltimore.
Which I don't get, because crappy teams like the Orioles give all these crappy players a place to go make money.
Exactly.
The players union should be excited about this.
Stephen A. Smith said he favorites the Orioles to win the World Series.
Oh, really?
Because he's misspeaking all the time now.
Yeah.
Did you see the latest flub?
No.
Where he said Mike Scioscia's a good friend of his and he's going to have a hard time managing the Angels this year and blah, blah, blah. And
he said he was a good friend of his and he doesn't know that he was fired?
His guest had to correct him and be like, actually, he hasn't been the manager there for 3 years.
You know what, though? If he's not Barbra Streisand, he's doing okay with what he says.
I'm out of the loop with all these references you guys are
Yeah,
making
that's a hot topic, too.
Yeah.
Right, you guys got to fill me in later.
A lot of hot topics.
And did you guys know Bette Midler doesn't care for Donald Trump? Because that's all I see on my Twitter feed. I don't know how I ever
lived
lived with.
What Twitter feed do you have that it's Bette Midler hot
people
takes?
retweeting things
Peaches
like,
is a great film,
I don't know how I got through my life without knowing how Bette Midler felt about things until people put it in my Twitter feed. I'm like, what am I doing?
She's still a good singer, though.
I guess, but I don't care for her. I don't care what her political leanings are.
Don't get me started with that. I had to stay off Twitter for the second game of Liberty because the first game that Liberty won, I did not realize. I was surprised. A lot of hatred for Liberty out there,
right? Because
Jerry Falwell Jr. is supportive of President Trump.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that, and that took me a little bit off guard.
Yep.
I don't know. The president of a university has very little interaction with the students.
No, I read a whole
team.
article. It does. Because basketball is promoting the college and bringing money into the college, which promotes Falwell. That's why people are upset.
Which thus promotes Trump. And,
yes, exactly.
And
the fact that Liberty won that
Jerry
game
Falwell,
is why there was
Jerry
no collusion.
Falwell, the same one from 20 years ago?
It's his son.
That's what I thought.
The other one.
The old one's dead, right?
The old one's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Did you get to shake the president's hand when you graduated?
I never walked.
Oh, you didn't?
He did. He did
You
almost
didn't
run
graduate?
me over.
You didn't graduate?
I graduated. I just didn't go to the ceremony.
Typical.
I got to shake the president of Belmont's hand. He's still the president now. And Rick Byrd, head coach.
And you know who was giving the commencement speak when I graduated that I didn't go show up for?
Donald Trump?
No. I'm sure he spoke.
Bette Midler?
Michael
Elias.
Tony Bennett.
Stop making guesses. I'll just tell you. Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
All right.
Chuck Norris is a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
That sounds like the reverse of the deep state. Jerry Falwell, Chuck Norris, Donald Trump.
Yeah. Well, so I stayed off Twitter for the next game because I can't handle the Liberty hate.
Understandably.
The hatred of liberty.
People are talking like
ugly
Liberty
thing.
Duke. They don't know who to root for.
It's an ugly thing. It's an ugly thing.
Hey, how concerned on a scale of 1 to 10? Everyone tells me I'm not concerned at all, actually, because Mike Elias says spring training stats don't matter. So I'm not at all concerned.
That's his way of justifying this roster.
Dylan Bundy has given up 1 billion runs in spring training. I'm not concerned because spring training stats don't matter.
He gave up 1 billion runs for half of last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not concerned because it's the Dylan Bundy we already know. The question is it that he's given up 1 billion runs because he's the old Dylan Bundy, or is he giving up 1 billion runs because they're working on him?
Yeah. Well, will Dylan Bundy ever be good?
Not in Baltimore.
It doesn't look like it. It really doesn't look like it's going to work out. I thought like 2.5 years ago he was really on the precipice of being something special, and he's just, I mean, I have my theory about him. I think that when he was in high school, he was using roids.
Oh, really?
Oh, that explains the big legs.
It explains that's why they talked about him. Joe Jordan talked about him when you saw him pitch. He was like a man versus boys.
Yeah. I always called him horse legs because he had legs of a horse.
Remember, though, when they drafted him, the talk was what a workout fiend he was.
Yes,
does
he
he
had
look
his pre-workout.
Does he look like he's worked out? It only looks like you or me.
Yeah,
not him, because he's a stick. He looks like you or me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
can't
sure
really
all he
see
posts
what Bird
online
looks
is
I'm a little
hunting
thick. I got
things.
the dad bod going on.
Bert looks a little more like Luis Ortiz.
So, I don't know. I kind of see Dylan Bundy as part of the old regime, and I'm more concerned about the young guys who haven't made their up to the majors yet and how Mike Elias and crew handles the Hunter Harveys and the
Yeah,
Josh Rogers and these young guys.
Well, I will tell you that I have a theory, and it revolves back to.
you got a lot of theories, Stan.
It revolves around fantasy value of players.
Okay, I love it.
And
I'm all in.
I wrote down. I went on a website the other day called BaseballHeadquarters.com, BaseballHQ.com.
Okay.
A friend of mine gave me his sign on, and I used it.
Oh, you got to have a special sign on it.
And I get because it's a subscription thing. You pay like $90 or something. I can't
Right.
afford that, you know.
Right.
So anyway, you can find out each player what this website and their analytics people value how much you're worth in terms of fantasy dollars. Okay,
Right.
Yeah, these
So
are human
like-
beings, Stan, but I'll let it go.
But
Go ahead.
like Chris Sale's worth $41.
Okay.
Eduardo Rodriguez is worth like $15. Rick
Sure.
Porcello is worth $15.
Yeah.
David Price is worth $21.
You're into the Red Sox.
No, I'm just giving you that.
A rotation
Evaldi
there. Right, yeah.
is $9.
Right.
So you add up their total,
Right.
and they're like plus 80.
Right.
You get to the Orioles.
Oh my
Bundy
gosh.
was worth $8.
Overpriced.
Cobb was worth. Now again, this is based not on prediction what they'll be this year.
But last year?
It was sort of last year.
All right.
I say sort of because I don't know how Bundy was worth $8. But
He had a good first
nonetheless, he was $8. He was the only positive pitcher the Orioles had. Hess was -3. Wright was -9. Rogers was -7.
Cashner
Cobb
was-
-7.
Okay.
Cashner was -11 or something like that.
Okay. He's our opening day starter. Yeah.
Combined, the Orioles were -29.
Yeah.
Sounds about
So
right.
when you look at $75 or $80 for the Red Sox, and the Indians were combined were higher than the Red Sox. Their 5 starters, they didn't have
Right.
one lower than $17. Bieber. So they're worth like $95.
Right.
You wonder when the Orioles will be good again. It's when you see valuations of pitchers that get us back into the pluses again.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's kind of the scary thing too, though, right? Because
none of these guys,
not
Wright
even
has.
AAA.
Yeah.
Those guys. Josh Rogers
What?
is not that guy.
No.
So you got to hope that Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall, way back.
And
is
what's
the
the other?
guys.
Keegan Aiken.
And Keegan Aiken, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I'll tell you who I have one little bit of ray of hope. If I think the analytics can help one of these guys, it's Mike Wright.
yeah.
You know, if you
We showed
compare,
some flashes in spring
Yeah.
training, right?
And
With
some
that-
flashes last year.
he
or the
had
year
that
before.
one
He's got
time
some
period
flashes.
from May 15th until exactly when
Right.
they traded Brock, O'Day, and Britton. From those 2.5 months, his earned run average was like about 3. And then it reverted back after they got rid of Britton. It was about 7 again the rest of the year.
So-
Well, and Wright has had weird things where his pitches have gone from like 97 miles per hour to drop down to 93 and
Yeah.
92. And they've even asked him, but he's like, I'm
Yep.
not sure what's happening there.
I
Right.
think he'll be a lot more sure of what's happening.
And he
there.
Yes,
He was-
hopefully- that's a good point. That's a good point.
Right, he was one of the guys this spring talking about the analytics a little, and
Right.
how there was still more. What is our rotation going into this season? I know it's Bundy, Cashner, Cobb when he comes back.
And then I think Hess and Wright.
Is it Hessen Wright?
That's what I would guess.
Most likely.
Hanser Alberto might get a shot there, though.
Yeah, you might as well move Chris Davis there. Yeah, that rotation, like that. Even if you had the best offense in baseball, that rotation is not going to win you any games. No, that's guys.
It's ironic. The better that the 3 of the top starters pitch, and I say 3 of the top starters, Cobb, Bundy, and Cashner, the better they pitch, the more likely each one is to be dealt.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Oh, yeah.
got to
Sure.
be the plan
Yeah.
for any of the veterans on this team.
Yeah.
That was my plan for Mark Trumbo, but that's scratched.
Right. Is that the plan, do you think, for like a guy like Mancini? Or is he a guy that you think
Hey,
you can stick around to rebuild with?
I think he's part of the rebuild. If these guys keep in mind, this is the first time they're going to really have their eyeballs on
Right.
him day in and day out. I don't think they know whether he's part of the problem or part of the solution. I tend to think he has a chance to be part of the solution. That's what I think. You know.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that solution is at first base, though, right? I don't think that solution long term is in left field.
Right. It can't be. There's too many outfielders in this farm system that have
and
prospects.
if you wanna-
So if you want to bring up, if you want to talk about Diaz and Hayes and Stewart.
But if somehow Davis is here, it doesn't really make sense to play Mancini at first base above Davis,
Right.
other than to give Davis 2 days a week off
Right.
to just get off his feet a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Davis is a good defensive first baseman.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. And by the way, just one other thing about the starting rotation. Is it telling at all that Cashner got the nod opening day over Bundy? Does that mean anything?
I don't know. I mean,
What they think of Bundy, perhaps?
Sure, I guess.
Because Cashner's not a good
But
starting
neither's
pitcher.
Bundy. I don't understand it because you think you would do Bundy because at least the fans would be excited, but I think we learned that they do not care about the fans.
Bundy was the starter last year, opening
Yeah.
day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's not in Baltimore. Who cares?
Cashner's relationship with the pitching coach might have a little bit to do with that. If you look at the best career year that Cashner's had, it was 2 years ago in his 1-year deal with Texas. He had a 340 earned run average. The peripheral numbers were still a little strange when you strike out. He pitched like 190 innings or something that year, struck out like 82 batters.
Yeah,
and you're going like,
yeah.
what the hell? How did you have a 340 ERA?
Yeah.
But Brokaw was the pitching coach there in Texas.
Yeah, it could be. Chris Davis. Here's what I get all the discussion about Chris Davis. Here's the part I don't get. Let's say best case scenario, Chris Davis reverts to form, even like as good as he was in his prime, pie in the sky. Best case scenario.
Okay.
That to me, in my mind, when you look at his role in this team and what you do with his contract, if he's as terrible as he was last year, or if he is as great as he's ever been, that changes. It doesn't change directions of the Orioles. And doesn't change how I deal with Chris Davis' contract. That's why I don't understand all the discussion about Chris Davis.
Well, what's Chris Davis have? Another 3 years left?
He's got 4, including this year.
Wow.
So then I would say it does matter.
Why? This is the next 3 years you're rebuilding. If he plays great, who cares? I guess maybe if you're hoping if he plays
It's not as if he's blocking 6 guys from playing.
Yeah, Ryan Mountcastle maybe, and he's a couple years away.
Right, and we've learned that we don't have
under Elias
much development in the infield. So I'd say if you can get Davis back to form, that's great. Why not? It doesn't hurt.
Why?
Because then you can check one position off.
No. Because by the time they get good, he'll be what?
Well, it depends.
In his late 30s at that point. By the time the Orioles get good again.
I don't know. I mean, I don't see.
So I'm saying for the next 2 years, who cares if he's good or not? Right?
We need something to cheer for.
Nah, I think
it would just be better for the organization not have to make an embarrassing decision and jettison him and get into that whole thing. I'll predict this, and I'm sort of a little buoyed. My hopes are buoyed a little bit. Buoyed, buoyed a little bit.
Got it.
By his 2 home runs the last 3 days. But I had been talking as recently as Saturday on the Bat Around, the show I do over on PressBoxOnline.com/radio. I'd been talking about the scenario that I saw was these first 17 days of the season where Arrojo's going to be up here.
Yeah.
That was sort of like they were going to look at Chris Davis. If he was absolutely embarrassingly bad after those 17 days, I think then you would see Arrojo go down and maybe, and this is before Trumbo got hurt now, but maybe like a DJ Stewart or somebody else, an outfielder, come up. Mancini would start to platoon with Davis at first base, to get him out from facing left-handers for about a month. Then if it's still as embarrassing at that point, I think there would be like a sit-down for 3 weeks or, where he'd play very little. And then I think they would really be talking to him about a buyout of his contract, which to me would make him still a very rich person who would be, instead of worrying about getting $20 million this year, 20 next year, 20 the next year, he would just get $2 or $3 million for for the next 30 years.
Right, and we heard him talk this offseason about how hard it is emotionally and to
I'm
suck.
sure, to get booed every time, yeah.
If he does turn around to a good Chris Davis, you've got that advantage of having a veteran leader in the clubhouse, and a guy that when he sucks, he's not going to be that leader for these young guys. So you've got that, and you've got the protection of a good bat in the lineup when you've got young guys that are trying to see pitches.
Okay, I don't really think it matters. Fine, I'll concede the point. But I'm at kind of a different view on this than Stan is. And when I was driving over here, I was listening to Ken Weinman talk about how, don't worry, Oriole fans. This is not the roster for the whole season. You're going to see these young players, come June, come July. You're going to see these young players.
It might be.
I strongly disagree. I think Mike Elias is kind of all in on sucking. I think you're not going to see any of the young players, maybe September, but I don't see any incentive on bringing them up in June. Like, why would you not start with them and bring them up in June unless they are playing so well at AAA?
Here's my point is that the players that we're really talking about, Cisco and Hayes and maybe Santander and Mountcastle, those guys, if they came up and all performed extremely well, this club would still not win with the pitching staff they have. So what I really need to hear from Brandon Hyde and Mike Elias and Sig Maydal is, what does that word really mean? I've heard it thrown around, and I'm talking about the D word, development.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm looking at Chance Sisco's numbers. Chance Sisco batted in 2016, he batted 426 times in the minor leagues. I'm not sure the exact breakdown, but I'm guessing 50-50 between the AA and AAA. Then in the next season, 17, he batted 388 times at AAA. Last year, he batted 128 more times at AAA. So what is the development exactly that's going to take place?
Right.
I mean, is there some kind of special workout that they're going to teach them, or there's going to be classes where he comes in and answers questions? What does development mean?
And if
because
Cisco,
now, to me, it's just a word.
Yeah, and Cisco bats 250 in the minors, right, this year.
Yeah.
And then what, do you just keep him there next year, the year after? And does he live his entire life in AAA?
And isn't that's our whole question with this organization right now is they keep saying they're bringing in analytics on all levels and bringing in new things
and
to
they
the
already
minors.
have, like spring training.
And we know they
have.
brought stuff into spring training, but how does that mean? How do you teach that to minor league players? How do you change and shift an organization like that? Is it different conversations with the guys? Is it that you're not bringing up these Austin Hayes and Santander and stuff because you want to get them used to your analytics and because you can think you can get even more out of them? Or is it just a time and long-term play?
I've got to hear more, and I plan to ask Hyde that more as I get to know him a little bit better, what development means at the minor league level. There's no question that it was not an accident that Gary Kendall was moved from Bowie to AAA, that their best prospects or their closest to the major league prospects are now all at AAA.
AAA, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the organization has a great appreciation for Kendall's ability to teach baseball and also to teach the right way of playing baseball. I heard an anecdote from somebody that knows the Oriole organization pretty well that last year Diaz had been there about 2 or 3 weeks at Bowie, and one game the Orioles, the Bay Sox, are all out in the field to start the game except for the right fielder. And they're throwing the ball around, they're getting ready to play, and he's on the bench like chatting with somebody, and all of a sudden they went over and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I'll get my glove." And he said, "No, you sit down." And he put somebody else in right field. Supposedly from that point on, his attitude was changed a little bit, that he's got to take this more seriously as a professional. So that was interesting to hear that Kendall does stand up to some of those young players, doesn't let them get away with stuff.
Yeah, I have heard that about Kendall, and we've had Adam Pohl in here a couple of times. That Kendall is kind of that no-nonsense type manager. And he's one of the only people who stayed.
He's one of the only carryover people.
So he was at Bowie, and wasn't that partially because that's where the Orioles sent all their good guys, so they're
part of it,
40 minutes from Camden Yards?
Yeah.
And now I guess it's like,
Well, I think
we don't need you.
I think baseball is changing a little there. I think for the last 10 years or so, a lot of teams put their better prospects at Double-A as opposed to Triple-A.
Sure.
And I think the Orioles are now wanting to round out and polish these prospects at Triple-A, but I still have to hear what that D word, or as I'm using tonight, the word polish, like Austin
We
Hayes.
can just
Let's be honest.
The D word and the P word.
Yeah, the D word and the P word. Let's be honest. Austin Hayes has never had an at bat at Triple-A.
At AAA,
Right.
And again, I equate that to the Kevin Gausman comparison I made before. If Austin Hayes had a good spring and hadn't been hurt last year, we don't know whether he would have come up and struggled, but I can guarantee you if he had the spring last year that he had this year,
Yeah, he would have been on the
he
roster.
would have been on the opening day roster.
Yes.
And they would have yo-yoed him back and forth between the majors and the minors. What's wrong with letting him hit 380 or 360 for two and a half months at AAA and have that confidence that, hey, the level just below the major leagues, I hit 360 or 350.
Right. You mentioned wanting to talk to Brendan Hyde and ask him what this development means. How much is Brendan Hyde in charge of this organization? Is he a guy who they see as being here long term? Is he a stopgap to take care of things while Mike Elias deals with the minors?
I don't think they honestly are thinking right now that he's the 7 to 10 year answer here in Baltimore, but nor do I think they've made up their mind that, well, we'll have him here for 2 years. Look, the Cubs, remember the Cubs hired, when Theo Epstein went there, they hired Dale Svaim to be the manager, and he was going to be the manager of the future. He lasted 1 season. Then they brought in Rich Renteria, who was really the guy we needed to get there. And as soon as Joe Madden got available.
Right, as soon as you got someone with experience.
We don't know yet whether Brandon Hyde will be the next Buck Showalter when Buck Showalter was 36 and got the job with the Yankees in the big leagues, or whether he's going to be Dave Tremblay, the guy that was kind of the caretaker for 2 years, and now we're getting a little better. We better get a good manager. Yeah. I like what I see so far from Hyde. I think he's a very straight shooter, but I don't know yet whether I say he can manage a game or not.
Well, it seems like Hyde's the right guy for a couple of reasons. One, he's a good yes man for Elias. He'll do all the sabermetric stuff that Elias wants.
I think that's important because when you look at Duquette and Duquette and Showalter, some good stuff can happen from friction.
Yes,
but some bad stuff happened, and I think we saw that Buck and Showalter were never on the same page.
Yeah. But the other reason is because when you have a team that's going to lose a lot of games, I don't think having kind of a martinet there to yell at players is probably the best way going in. So here's Hyde, everyone says players coach, right?
Yeah. Right.
So here's a guy who can connect with players, and I think that's really important to create an environment where you want to go to work, knowing you were set up to lose. 115 games or whatever it's going to be. Yeah. I'm being optimistic with the 115 number, by the way.
By the way.
So I think it's good to have a coach like Hyde at this point, or a manager like Hyde at this point.
By the way, you know who's going to make the New York Yankees roster, it looks like? He pitched today in Washington.
Zach Britton?
No, think left-hander, former Oriole left-hander. Nestor Cortez, or looks like he's going to make
the up there. Wow, that's surprising.
I love that.
Was he a Rule 5 guy when we had him?
I liked when Buck got stuck with him last year, giving up those 2 Grand Slam home runs in a week in like 2 or 3 back-to-back performances.
The other thing that happened, and just going back to discussion about Cisco and how we're running this development, the D word and the P word, something that drove me crazy is you bring up a guy like Cisco, and then you have him back up or split time as catcher, right? When you go into rebuild mode, I would rather Chance Cisco be an everyday catcher at AAA than have him.
That might be what their thinking was too. Is let's have him instead of. We don't think he can handle the everyday rigors right now of being the major league catcher every day. So why don't we just try and develop him more?
Yeah, I also wonder. I saw the Marlins. Not the Marlins. Some team put a pitcher on waivers today. Is it Daly or something? Do you guys see this? Anyway, there has to be, because this is the waiver time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Where teams are solidifying their 25-man roster. And you're telling me that there's not other players, other starting pitchers on that teams are putting on waivers, and we got first dibs at waivers, being who we are. That you're telling me there's not pitchers that are better than.
Well, let's see who the waivers. Right. Let's see. Orioles select contract. Jesus Sucre.
That's got to be part of what they're doing. Even when I looked at the Orioles 40-man today, there's at least half a dozen guys on there who I've never heard of. Where I'm like, is this even? It looks like it's a made up name.
Yeah.
So they're definitely going to grab whoever they want. To go back to where we started this whole conversation with, it's a numbers game to get as many bodies in to see who could be potentially part of this future.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the Marlins, and Dan Straley was put on waivers.
He was put on waivers.
Yeah.
So he will be traded within the next 48 hours.
So that's a guy that if he's not traded, if he goes to certainly Orioles would want to put a. And I wonder how.
Well, the problem with him is, if you look up Baseball Reference real quick, is what his contract is. The Orioles probably aren't in the mood to pick up an $7 to $9 million contract.
Right, they're definitely.
But he's a guy that could help a team like the Tampa, not so much. Minnesota might pick him up. The Angels could certainly use him.
Yeah, he's set to make $5 million this year.
Yeah.
Earliest free agency 2021, so you have him for a couple years.
Yeah.
But you're right. If we're not winning the next couple years, maybe it doesn't make sense.
Now, Stan, you sat down.
Oakland A's could use him.
Yes.
Oakland A's could use him.
You sat down with Mike Elias recently.
Yes.
One of the few conversations.
That's the cover story of Press Box.
If not the only conversation that he's had long form with someone who's not working for the Orioles. Mm-hmm. What was your impression of him? Do you buy in on this trust the process that what he did in Houston he can redo here in Baltimore?
Well, let's not forget, he didn't do it single-handedly. He was an assistant to Jeff Lunau.
Yes.
And
all right.
along with the help of – there's two things at play here. We don't know whether Mike was just a really good assistant general manager and Jeff Lunau was a total genius, which I think we have an idea that Jeff Lunau was pretty damn good. We don't know yet whether Mike Elias is really good. Now, if you read the book Astro Ball, he's mentioned fairly prominently in there. Well, and so is Sig.
Sig is basically the title of the book is Sig's life.
Sig's world.
I mean, Sig gets praised a whole lot more than Mike.
But the other thing is, when the Astros brought Lunau in, and Lunau brought over Elias and Sig Madoff from the Cardinals, where all three had worked, when they went all in on the analytics in Houston, number one, they didn't have anything to lose by doing it because they had lost 100 games for 2 years when he got there. But number two, they were way out in front of the curve of analytics then.
Right.
In other words, they had an advantage because if it was truly worked, there was very few other teams that were really deeply embedded in analytics.
Right. Everyone's doing it now.
Now everybody's doing it. So that doesn't mean that Sig might not still be the best, but there are probably some other people that are equally as good. The data is probably the data. It's probably similar.
I think that, but then the key is they found something new then. Can they find something new now?
Yeah, or you can, I'll tell you what I think that I see that they found that I haven't heard other teams do is when they got Justin Verlander was looking like an aging kind of 34-year-old pitcher who had once been great.
Yep.
He was capable of giving you a good game here or there. They immediately said, we want to show you something. And all of a sudden, he was absolutely unbelievable those last 6-7 weeks of the season. Now, some of that may have been just being rejuvenated with a team. Some of it might have been the floods in Houston. He got psyched to help but some of it was the analytics. Garrett Cole was a guy we all knew was a pretty darn good prospect. He struck out 8 batters every 9 innings with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He goes to Houston. He strikes out 12 batters every 9 innings. Ryan Presley was a guy that was a middling guy you would use in the 4th inning in a blowout or the 5th inning in a blowout. Occasionally you get in the 7th inning. He's now their number 2 bullpen guy. They brought him in the last 2 months of the year last year. They extended him for 3 years at a very friendly deal for both sides. They make players better. Now, I don't know that they can make Mike Wright better or Dylan Bundy better.
But they're going to try.
Or Chris Davis better. But they have something to teach these guys.
Right.
And that's, I'm hoping, what the development really means.
Right. Did you get into what Mike thinks of this farm system coming in? There's a lot of talk of people trashing our farm
honestly,
system.
first of all, I got to tell you something. I found him to be, this is not me just blowing smoke up his you-know-what.
No, I want the truth.
I found him to be very straightforward, not a lot. Like you'd ask Dan Duquette, Roland Heeman, I've interviewed all these guys over the years. Roland Heeman had a way, you'd ask him a question about that orange towel there on the wall, and he'd start talking, and he'd spin something, and the next thing you couldn't even remember 3 minutes later what you had asked him, and the answer was over. Dan Duquette had a way with a quip here and there and a glibness here and there, or, hey, he's a qualified major leaguer. You know, the way he'd say things, he's dismissive of you and saying he's a qualified major leaguer. I found him to be, and this is what I like about him so far and what I like about Hyde, both of them are straight shooters. What you see is what you get. I like the fact that if you read this interview, it's not a lot of fluff. It's just straight, solid answers, not a lot of bluster or puffery or any. Just he answered the questions. Not a yes or no. He'd give you some stuff, but, okay, I'm ready for your next question.
Yeah, and that was one of my biggest issues with Dan Duquette. Not Buck Showalter, but Dan Duquette, his communication skills. I felt like he could not articulate a vision for the team. He could not articulate even players that he acquired well. He couldn't really talk about them in a way that could make fans kind of believe.
Dan is he's a very complex guy. He's got some antisocial behavioral issues. He's not a people person.
Right.
And that's what did him in Boston when he really was considered the boy genius of development and everything. He tried a lot harder here. I think his 10 years away from baseball, he knew what he had to work on, and it was to get along with people. And I think he did an admirable job of that. I think, again, I would wonder if he was 36 years old and had come in and worked for John Angelos, not Peter Angelos at 55, what it would have been like, you know?
Yeah.
And this is the issue of Press Box that's available now.
It's
you can pick up.
available now. It's available at over 500 locations, 60 Royal Farms stores.
That's where I see it all the time is Royal Farms.
and it's also available at PressBoxOnline.com.
You know,
our digital person is a graduate of Yale. She came up with the headline.
Oh, well, I like the
I
title.
thought the headline.
I do have. Well, if you want to talk about the cover, I do have one issue with the cover.
What's that?
When you first brought it in, I thought it was John Harbaugh holding a baseball. And I said, "What's John Harbaugh doing on the cover?" And then I realized,
they have a
wait,
bit of the
it's
same
Mike
smile.
Elias. They got a very similar face. I also have an issue with Royal Farms, as in my wife's credit card was stolen this weekend, and someone went and charged $600 at Royal Farms on Sunday.
Oh, man, someone had a lot of candy.
What are you buying it for $600 at Royal Farms?
Well, that's what I asked.
Lot of
They
chicken.
didn't,
No,
they
the
didn't
bank
think
said-
to call anybody? Or
It was 6 transactions, $100 apiece.
Lotto tickets.
No, the bank told me gift cards. Royal Farms sells gift cards, so people would steal it, go there and buy like the Visa gift cards.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
well, they
you
should
can't
be
buy
able.
lotto tickets
Shouldn't
with
they
a
be
credit
able to
card.
trace the numbers of the gift cards they
Probably
sold
so.
them?
I don't know. It's not. That's their problem. They gave me my money back. I told them which Royal Farms on my transaction, and it's their issue now.
I would be
You
like,
got your 600.
I got
let me
the
know
money
how that
back.
works out with those gift cards, though. I'm curious.
Right. If it's right. If
Keep
Can
me in
I
the
borrow
loop.
your-
keep me in the loop.
Can I borrow your wife's?
It got all canceled
Just
yesterday.
Take down my
Leave it on
number.
the counter. Just leave it on
Right.
the counter.
Maybe it is lottery tickets, and maybe I should have waited and found out if I get part of the win-ins and then report it.
By the way, Stan mentioned press box. Also, I want to mention I'm a listener of the Bat Around.
Thank you.
You always
I know
have
there's one.
good guests.
I know there's one.
Sometimes you get into a little bit Nats talk, and I have to fast forward real quick. I don't want to hear the Nationals. But no, I'm always impressed with the guests you're able to get on that show every week. So
got an interesting guest this week. We got Jared Diamond, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, and he wrote a piece about the Orioles. It's available online. It's about the worst team in baseball is starting over and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And then he wrote another piece. It's funny, in 2 days, somebody sent me the piece he did on the Orioles and said, I think he'd be an interesting guy for you to have on. And I emailed him, because his email is there at the end of the article at Wall Street Journal, jared.diamond@wsj.com.
All right, now everyone's
emailed him, invited him on the show, said tomorrow or next Saturday.
Yeah.
By Saturday morning, he apologized that he didn't get back to me sooner. He's dealing with strep throat. He's going to be on this coming Saturday. But somebody else sent me another article that he did for Wall Street Journal, which was sort of called like the end of free agency in baseball. So I haven't read either one of them yet, but I'm going to prep for the
because
interview.
that seems to fit right in line with the Wall Street Journal. The finances of baseball are definitely shifting, and player union is trying to figure it out, and owners are definitely figuring it out.
Well, I think the ground is shifted under the players union with all these extensions right now. They were trying to build a case that, hey, there's collusion going on, and nobody's willing to pay these great athletes and all of a sudden they're giving a guy who's never played an inning in Major League Baseball $70 million guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, what happened outside that? What happened in the last 2 weeks that suddenly, after Bryce Harper signs, it's like, let's extend everyone. We're giving everyone extensions, and every team seems to be taking their star player and giving them a long-term extension.
One of them happened either in between the Machado and Harper. Was Arenado signed that extension?
Right, yeah, that was earlier.
And then who was the next player? There was one other big extension.
Was it Bregman, or that was a little bit later?
It was Bregman.
Okay.
It was Bregman.
$100 million.
And that one took him through a couple of years of arbitration and all that.
And I think that's the big story. Like Blake Snell, we talked about maybe 3 weeks ago how he was getting like a $15,000 raise.
They really dicked him around. There's no question about it.
Well, and why? Because then they can
and I say that's the D word.
Yeah, that's the real D word, right? But part of the reason they did that is to say, oh, here's this big long-term contract, right? So we can buy out this, $500,000 a year, whatever, or replace it with a $10 million. So we get,
but that's again
free agency,
a shift that we're seeing in baseball, and I'm wondering.
Well, it's still dominated by the owners.
Well, I wonder how much of this is owners saying, "Hey, let's lock up some people now before the." I think they've
got the players softened up a little bit. That some of these players are saying, you know what, this type of free agency isn't such a bad thing, or not getting to free agency is not such a bad thing. Let me try and maximize what I can make from my youthful years of 24 to 30, because they're sure as hell not going to want to pay me once I'm over 30.
Right, and I'm hoping
unless you're Justin Verlander.
And I'm hoping that means we get to see
33 a year.
Homegrown stars staying in town. I hope that means guys that we see come up as kids actually stay in their hometown.
I'd say there's a chance that could happen now more.
Well, it's a little sad looking at the Orioles, though. There's literally no one.
No, there's no one to extend.
Would you want to offer an extension to at this point?
No one.
No. Maybe can we extend Adley Rushman? Is that the kid's name? The catcher from Oregon State. Can we extend him?
Now, I got somebody that I know pretty well who in this neck of the woods is pretty well known. Bernie Walter, baseball coach at Arundel High.
Right.
And then he was Eric Backage's director of baseball ops at Maryland. He loves Bobby Witt Jr. and tells me he thinks the Orioles are going to take Bobby Witt Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Now he doesn't have an
right.
He just thinks he's really a special player.
Yeah, it's interesting how the conversation has shifted from Bobby Witt Jr. to Rushman. I think part of the reason though is because Oregon State games, I guess they're televised, or somehow all these videos of him hitting home runs is being released, and you hear and you don't really see Junior's high school games.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They don't televise a lot of high school baseball.
I guess not.
I mean, not yet, but so. It's coming. I mean,
now in Texas they do high school football.
Sure,
but they don't do a lot of high school
varsity
baseball.
blues, baby.
Now we all when we look ahead at this year, we all had to this week send to Press Box our not predictions, but kind of what we expected.
What would this season be if
Right.
you were asking for what is success defined as for this year?
Right. So that's got to at least be like, all right, well, give me something to be excited about this season. And I put in there, and you guys are now getting me depressed that I need to
Wait a minute.
rewrite
We should have
my
asked you
thing.
after you got your orange lanyard.
Well, yeah, the orange.
That is
Put on the
something
orange
to
You know what?
lanyard, and
This lanyard came.
That's success right there, isn't it, for you?
This lanyard
That's
came
a win.
after I submitted my thing. You're right. I should rewrite it. But
You know what would be a good look for you, seriously, because I know you're a baseball
Okay,
hat
Josh,
guy.
listen to this.
All right.
Yeah,
All right, I'll take
I like
notes.
this
I
already.
think you got to
All right.
get, like the
Device.
plastic that you put things in, that you have a lanyard with a plastic thing.
Yes.
Right.
yeah,
You put
right.
the-
Like you put your like your
Put
Super
a
Bowl
plastic
ticket on it.
thing on top of your hat, and you walk around with it
On the hat.
on the hat, in the hat, right there.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good look, Josh.
Yeah.
You just want it stuck up here.
It's like a
more
press
like,
pass.
more like
Yeah.
right in front there, in
Yeah.
a thing though.
Well,
so
that's
it doesn't
kind of like
fall out.
I'm embarrassed by the Orioles, so I'll just
No,
Look,
because
it's
you got an
orange.
Oriole.
Yeah,
You got an
orange
Oriole.
right there.
I got you.
That way you
It's
don't
always
have
there.
to. That way you don't have to have
I will
the thing
say-
around your
Oh,
neck.
you
I'm not-
choke yourself
You
with
could
that
check
thing.
your.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly what I was
Absolutely.
thinking.
If you get in a
This
fight
guy-
at the ballpark,
This
someone
guy's the
yank that off
smartest
your
guy
head.
in the room.
I've
There's
been-
no
He
question.
thinks
I've been
he
saying
is.
that
See?
for 4 years, Dan. No one ever listens
I was
to me.
saying, give me another Cal Ripken statue game so we can all swing these things around and hit each other.
Can I have another water?
Yeah.
Grab
Am
a
I
water,
allowed
Bert.
for a?
Don't give him another
But come
water.
on.
We'll be here for another
Yeah.
hour. We got to wrap the show up.
But so what I wrote down, what I
Okay,
submitted.
Judge, what did you submit? Let's get to it.
Well,
If
I wanna
you-
hear-
Great
I
though.
wanna hear what
Seriously,
you
you get
guys
a
submitted.
refrigerator full of water,
I tell
and
you
the
what.
water's not cold. The water's not cold.
He just put him in here before you
Look
got
at
here.
I
this.
don't
This
know.
prima donna wants cold water right here.
Right.
Who's this
I don't
diva
know.
we just brought in?
And why do you think
I'm
that's a
the diva
refrigerator?
here,
It's just a
Stan.
closet.
Jeez, what in
No,
in your studio in live studio
We don't
Stan?
have. We don't.
Do you have
No.
refrigerators? Do
No,
you
we
have,
don't have-
No, their studio's 200 degrees and no water.
Okay.
But my thought was kind of like with that more of what do we have to look
Yeah,
forward to
Josh,
this season?
what'd you put?
I put that I hope that by the
Jeez.
end of the season, there's one or two guys on this team that we can say those guys are going to be around in the future. But according
That's
to today's
exactly
last
what-
hour conversation, that's crap.
That's exactly what I wrote down.
Yeah.
Was that I was hoping that this year we would find 3 to 5 guys that we say, you know what, this Mike Wright might be around. This Austin Hayes is really Trey Mancini has proven, because to me Trey Mancini is teetering. He's certainly not Chris Davis bad, but I really
He had
want
a
to
down
see.
year last year.
I want to
Oh, yeah.
see what he looked like in 17. That's
Now,
what I want to see.
There could
this
be
year.
guys on here who are scrubs, but they buy into the system, the
Right.
new system,
And it could work.
and they turn it around even just a little bit. That's
Now,
progress.
now- I
Cedric,
also
Cedric
said-
Mullins is a guy that he's going to be up here.
Right.
Well, also the two Rule 5 guys, right? Rich Martin, Jackson. Those are a couple guys. That,
Yeah, maybe so. Now, I also said if I'm wearing the orange glasses, give me 60 wins, but that was before I knew that none of the good guys are making it onto the roster.
Yeah. 60 wins does
So,
nothing for
what
me.
did-
It
what
takes
did you-
away my number one pick.
does 60
Right.
wins get you excited, but 40 wins make you depressed?
No,
No,
they
it doesn't
both
matter.
make me depressed.
What did you submit, Matt?
Huh?
What did you submit?
I said I'm going to use the criteria that Mike Elias has set out at the beginning when he first got hired to increase the talent in the organization. And so I want to see the minor leaguers become closer to major league ready. I want to see the major league. I don't want to see them acquire at the end of the season. I want them to be more talented players in the system
In the
than
system.
there was at the beginning of the season.
Right.
So you're
if you can say
focused on the
those
minor
things-
leagues.
Yeah, if you can say that the D word happened, and the first D word that Stan used, not the second D word he used,
Right.
and that if you can say there's more actual talented players on the roster now, I think it's a success. Or in,
All right.
in the system.
In the system. In the system.
Not on the-
Which
And I
means-
think the crazy part about that is to get better players in the system, they need those 3 starting pitchers to pitch well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't
we
know
can
what
use
happened.
them for trade chips.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see what happens in the international signing market when that opens up again in the late
So-
summer. I think that should be something else to watch. Another way to add talent to the
All right.
organization.
So
And
why?
the draft, of course.
All right. So why would you go watch the Orioles this year?
Because they're your team, right?
I mean,
This
that's
is
the
what we
hard
signed
part.
up for. We
Basically it.
we
Right.
signed up to be an Oriole fan, even when they suck. right?
Right.
This is the root canal.
Anybody can be a fair weather fan.
That's right.
You know, you come back in 2023 when we're battling for a World Series,
Yeah.
and everybody's there.
Yeah, Jason
You guys will
right
be,
behind you.
yeah. You guys will be. You guys will be able to say, "Hey, I got equity in this thing."
Yeah,
Sure.
but then there'll be the people who say, "Yeah, but you downgraded from a 29 game plan to a 13."
Oh, don't worry, we'll
plan.
move back up if we need to. but right now,
And that doesn't lock you into only going to 13 or 14 games.
But what
Tickets
it
are not
does-
going to be hard
But what
to
it
get.
does
That's
is
true.
it frees
Sure.
up some money that I can go see the Bowie Bay Sox and
Oh, I was going to say
And the Norfolk Tides.
it doesn't allow you to have first dibs for playoff tickets.
this year you're right.
With the
Shoot.
29
Right.
game plan, you had first
Yes.
dibs for playoff tickets.
Yeah, they were even the
Oh,
Orioles.
great.
Great
Have little
point.
faith.
That's a great.
know, I
that's
always-
a great point.
Thank you,
You
Sam.
guys know I always complain about the Orioles ticket office and how they handle season
I need
Birdland
someone
members
on
and
the show
everything.
just to say that's a great point to me like every 10 minutes.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
I'll
Do you have
create a
that on
button for
tape?
you.
Yeah, that's
Couldn't
right.
he
I want a
reloop
button
it?
You
where
want
I
a
can
button?
just play that. Yeah.
But
Whenever I say something.
I will say, here's my complaint for the ticket office this year.
Yeah, I don't think Stan's going to say it's
They
gonna be a great
Did
point.
you turn
this-
his mic off? Did you turn his microphone?
No, my
They-
mic's still
he
on.
just talks so far from it. The problem is
Take
no one
shots.
wants to go to Oriole games this year. I tried to get 5 opening day tickets instead of 4. Nope. They are not giving up the opening day tickets, even though no one cares to go to Oriole games this year.
Opening day's going to
Who
sell
wasn't
out, though,
giving
right?
them up? The team or your friends?
The team, the team.
Because it's a sellout, right?
I guess so. It's a sellout of some type. I don't know.
So I
Yeah,
don't
but-
understand.
I know.
You were the
They let
only
me
one
buy-
that could buy tickets.
No, they let us
Couldn't he
buy.
have bought-
They let me buy 4 because we have 4
He
season
does it-
tickets.
he does this
They wouldn't let me
season
be the
ticket
5th.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's
I
in
manage,
control.
I manage the tickets for everyone.
Yeah.
So
well,
they let me buy
his choice.
my choice.
Yeah.
If
I
it- if
don't want to
wasn't
live
here-
in a world where Matt's in charge of the season
Right.
tickets.
Right. I don't think there's another person on our plan that you went in charge of the tickets.
Okay. Listen, I can call Carlos once a week and say, "How you doing, Carlos? Can you hook me
Yeah,
up?"
but you can't even send
Yeah.
an email back to guys wanting you to join their fantasy football league or to participate in the draft.
And what happens?
It was going to my Yahoo email. Who checks your Yahoo email?
Strokey, wow, Ralph Strokey.
Right. And what happens when I'm driving to the stadium and I don't have my ticket yet? How do you get it to me?
I don't know. And we got to talk about opening day too after the show. I got.
I bought you a
to get.
ticket. I hope
know.
you can go.
Something came up. We got to talk about it.
I don't think you're saying opening day tickets are hard to get or they're not giving them up or whatever. If they come back to Camden Yards 0-6, it's not going to be the open day hype that we have every year.
There's not going to be the opening day
There's not
hype no
going to
matter
be
what.
hype no matter what. Nah,
Yeah, but it'll still be a crowd down at Pitt.
Well, yeah.
It'll still be,
But none of that has to do with winning.
no, but
None of that. That's all.
but if they started the season game 1 at
You
Camden,
broke your mic again.
I'm only touching it now because it's not working again. If they started opening day at Camden Yards, there would be a big brouhaha regardless of.
No.
I
no.
wish, Josh, I wish you would.
Did you
shut up.
remember-
Bert hasn't spoken in like 20 minutes. The guy says
I
something,
know.
and you'd say no,
That's
no,
why I
no,
don't
no.
say
Let
anything.
the man speak.
Clearly, you're not getting your headphones, and I'm only saying no because his mic drops out, and I'm trying to fill the dead air.
Okay.
But if you remember the 14 years, Pickles was still had a bunch of people down there.
Yeah,
It's a
opening
drinking
day will still be
Yeah.
a thing.
And no one will go.
But
to
it'll
game
be
2.
after opening day. It's going to be tricky.
Oh, Josh, can you stop the music real quick?
You've been trying to wrap up the show. I pressed the music to wrap it
but
up.
we have a guest. All right, we have Stan Charles.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we promote his stuff, right?
Okay,
We
I thought you'd do that. Yeah.
The bat around.
The
Also,
bat-
I like about the bat around. You have Big Bats on there, which is over there on the Eastern Shore.
Have you been to Big
I
Bats?
appreciate
That's a
it.
good restaurant.
I've
I like
been to
Big Bats.
Big
I do
Bat's a
too,
great
right there on
place.
Ken Island.
Great place.
It is a
Steve
great
Yes.
Garland.
They got. I had a barbecue thing there. Very good.
I am doing. I'll be back for a 3rd season of After Bird Watching.
Stan,
yeah.
I love this. I really want to see if you make it through the entire season.
It's
Of-
going to be.
of,
It's going to be
making
hard.
it after
It
this.
really matters whether we get a sponsor commitment. I'm
So this
pretty
is-
good once the sponsor's on board. I will commit. I'm going to do over 100 shows again
So
After the game,
after
you'll
Bird
hop
Watching,
after
on.
games. Yeah.
yeah. Stan doesn't know it.
I
but he
double
stole
up a
that idea
little
from
bit.
me.
I double up a little bit when we go out west.
Ooh, the West
I'll do a
Coast.
pregame and a postgame,
Yeah.
which
Right.
counts as 2.
I'll watch the pregame. I'm not awake for that.
And then I'm an 8. This is my 8th season of doing Stan the Fans MLB Power Rankings. They'll be released every Monday around noon on the website, PressBoxOnline.com, along with, for the 2nd straight year, I'll do a little video release of them. Who's
That was a lot more fun when the Orioles were up in the power rankings.
yeah.
Are you going to have some cool effects with the power rankings?
No,
Video?
I see.
Like
I wish
like
I
the
had.
bold predictions.
I wish Josh was almost like my brother or something.
Yeah.
Like almost. Notice
Yeah,
how I
no,
said.
you don't want Josh as your brother. Trust me.
No, I know
got
that.
experience in
Believe me, I know that. But I do. I'm impressed by the studio. It's really great.
Well, that's why I went up and built the press box studio as well.
Yeah?
Because
Yeah.
we showed this to Glenn. He wanted it.
Well, and Josh knew the only way I would hang out with him is if he literally built a studio to do a podcast in.
This
If it's
is-
fine. I'll come over and hang out.
This is really very cool. I know we haven't pointed it out that much tonight, but you've got an ability. I'm like on my laptop,
Yeah.
and I can barely read what people are saying, and they make jokes, and you can't read what they're saying.
Right. Praise Matt.
Yeah.
Just a message board for people to say how awesome I am. That's what I look at that as.
Jonathan Toman said if Mancini is a part of the future here, it's first base or DH. Kate Berry said they should take away the policy of only selling OD tickets to Birdland members only.
Oh, I don't care about that policy as long as you let Birdland members buy whatever you want. Because I'll be a member for life.
Yeah.
I just want to be treated nice because I'm locked into this losing team no matter what. So at least
They won't always be a losing team. Remember that, fans, sports fans.
we've got Birdland Radio on Sunday to remind everyone. All day broadcasting on our Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you watch this show. You'll also see that live. We are up in the morning, I think like 9 a.m., and then we're back in the evening, I think like 9 p.m. I think we are at the beginning and end, but all our friends, lots of shows in the middle.
If I have you on Saturday, will you have more of a regular schedule that you can in front of you?
Yeah, I've got the whole schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
At 9 p.m., we'll take calls.
I was going to ask you, are we taking calls in the morning or in the
No,
evening?
I don't want to take calls in the morning. We'll take
All right.
calls at night.
All right,
9
here's what we'll
p.m.,
do.
We'll take calls.
We'll open up the phone lines all day. You can call the other shows, but you really want to speak to us at 9 p.m.
Fine.
I want to thank you guys for having me in. I like this yearly tradition of coming on right before the season.
Yeah.
This is a season where the team will probably win somewhere between 50 and 60 games. And
He's giving it that 60. I've got a chance with my press box prediction.
That's not terribly exciting, but there's something about a rebuild that, again, we'll all have skin in this game when they're good again.
Yeah.
And-
All in.
Yeah.
Will we still be doing 336 when they win?
Maybe you'll have a different section. Maybe you'll have a different section.
Oh, we're getting there. We're back to 336.
By the way, we lost a former Baltimore Colt great today, Ordell Bracey, who played for the team in the late 50s and into the 60s, maybe as late as 70, passed away.
Thanks for getting in the show, Stan.
Yep.
You can follow Stan on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
At Stan the Fan. And I'm now on Instagram as well.
Instagram Stan. All right.
Original
Instagram famous.
original Stan the Fan, because somebody had Stan the Fan.
Was it an Oriole fan?
That was like a little Asian kid or something like that.
You gotta send that guy some money.
I just want to make sure I've got the right name. Hold on. How do I find my name?
I'll help you out.
And they can also follow you on Snapchat, Stan?
No, not on Snapchat. I'm on Facebook.
Tinder?
Not on Tinder.
You're gonna just keep rattling off some.
I'll stop there.
Hitch. Not on Hitch.
You can follow me at Section 336 on Twitter. You can follow Bert on Twitter.
At Bert Rohde.
And you can follow Josh on Twitter.
At Josh Soroka.
Look at Josh multitasking.
And it is original Stan the Fan on Instagram.
Are you following me now?
I'll give you a follow right now.
Are you guys going to follow me?
Only if you follow back.
All right. I'm always going to holler back. I'm going to follow back and holler back.
Appreciate that, Stan.
All right, guys, it was great. I really
Absolutely.
enjoyed
All
it.
right.
Thanks for listening, boys and girls. And as always, go O's.